Yes. Yes. So, you know, trigger warning. This is all right. Micah's list abusive, coercive, control behaviors and actions she suffered at the hands of her husband. Keep in mind that all of the following allegations were taken from Mica's verbal story. Okay? These are allegations, alleged. Her journals, her diaries, and writings that she left behind, and at least those were not confiscated or destroyed by her husband and former pastor, J.P. Miller. Hmm. A. Isolating her from family and friends. JP cut her off from her family and friends, taking her contact list by confiscating her cell phone and hiding it from her. We saw the video where that took place, telling her that her family is using her, are not good people, and that she should disassociate with them, forbidding her to spend time with her friends or questioning her incessantly about it so that the harassment outweighs the benefit of having friendships. B. Depriving her of basic needs. JP would not let her sleep, keeping her up at night and pulling the covers off her every time she dozed off, throwing her clothes on the front lawn of their home, waking her up and screaming at her incessantly to the point that she had to leave to go to sleep in her car just to get some peace and rest. Neighbors, uh, reach out to me. We don't have to, we can just talk in the background. We don't have to reach out to me. C. Stalking, tracking her whereabouts. JP hired private investigators to follow and track her and put multiple GPS trackers on her car. After they separated, he would follow or find her by GPS tracker, and then he would drive by very slowly to make sure that she saw him. He would walk into any place she was and go up to the table or area and make a comment or stand afar so she could see he was present. Wow. Monitoring her communications. JP took her cell phone, went through her text messages and call logs, and claims he found 18 people had texted her. He said that in a sermon. 18 people that had texted her that they were willing to listen to her if she wanted to talk about her husband, admitted in a recorded sermon. JP hacked into her email, iCloud account, and Facebook account and took over her identity. My gosh. E. Taking control over aspects of her life. JP controlled who she could associate with, where she could go, and all aspects of her life, as stated here on throughout. Took her driver's license, wallet, purse, car, house keys, and changed the locks on the doors, depriving her of support services. JP took her cell phone, her car, Apple Watch, and convinced her she did not need a lawyer. From the pulpit, he gave a sermon and chastised her and any woman or man that texted his wife that had encouraged her to confide in them about her husband, the pastor, thus shutting down even a private confidant. She became afraid to speak out. He did. He called it out on the pulpit. G. Expressing her worthlessness, JP told her that she was lazy and mentally ill, that her breasts were too small, that her family was ignorant, that they used her, and that she was not a good Christian woman if she questioned him or did not submit to him or keep all his dark secrets. H. Humiliated, degraded, and dehumanized her. JP forced her to submit to humiliating sexual acts that disgusted and that hurt her. He would tell her she was mentally ill and have her hospitalized against her will. He put her down for having ideas or getting inspired by outside influences, telling her and others that she fell for anything, i.e., not smart. JP uploaded a semi-nude photo of his wife, according to the newest News Nation. I didn't do that's made up. That's made up or something. JP uploaded a semi-nude photo of his wife to the internet and later apologized in an email and attempted to minimize the damage by stating it was only up for an hour. Contradictions, yo. Because in this latest interview, I don't know, that was just made up or something. I prevented disclosure to authorities. When Mica would threaten to expose JP, he would ramp up his abuse and tell her that if she did, then she was not a Christian woman, not a dutiful wife, that she was acting like the judge, only God is the judge, and that she was required by the Bible to protect him and not disclose what he did to her. In fact, according to JP, the Bible says she is supposed to forgive him for his abuse, and as a dutiful wife is to obey her husband, i.e., tolerate the abuse, and if she does not, she is sinning. JP paid her less than minimum wage. This is financial abuse, JP paid her less than minimum wage for more than full-time employment at the church, removed her from bank accounts, and told her she did not know how to manage money, but required her to pay her own car payment, car insurance, and medical bills. That's if you're married, it's 50-50, no? I mean, that's how it is for me. Or how it would be. K, threats to hurt her family, or himself. If she hinted of exposing JP's abuse, he threatened to commit unaliving or that he would jump off a bridge. He also made similar threats if she said she wanted to leave or divorce him, or if she refused to return to him after he threw her out. He threatened her family with gun violence. JP threatened to divorce her if she did not obey him and if she did not take the pills he gave to her. We heard the 911 call from the sister. We saw the text messages. L, threats to a child, not applicable. M, threats to reveal or publish private information. JP would make videos of her in private settings and then threaten to upload them if she did not do what he wanted. He convinced her to send him a topless picture meant only for the eyes of her husband, and he uploaded it to the internet when she did not comply with his demands. N, assault. JP kept many guns and knives in their home. He punched holes in the walls during his fits of rage and said he was on the way, armed and ready. When he demanded she leave her sisters and come home, JP kept her in a constant state of panic and fear that she would do something to, quote, trigger him. This is page 3. We got 2 more after this. Oh, the R word. While she was hospitalized, excuse me. While she was hospitalized, JP demanded that she have intercourse with him while she lay in the hospital bed. While she was hospitalized. JP forced her to perform sexual acts against her will and demanded that she watch him in sexual acts with others and forced her to sit still so others could touch her body against her will. Oh my gosh. JP told her and preached on Sunday that if she did not submit to this, every request for sexual situations in any manner he desired, that it was her fault if he got his needs fulfilled by another woman or man. Whoa. Holy crap. O is a crazy paragraph, too. P, preventing her from having transportation. Whoa. JP slashed a total of, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what. And then people like touching you against your will while you're being. P, preventing her from having transportation. JP slashed a total of 5 of her car tires. He inserted razors in her car tires, potentially to cause her to wreck. JP took her vehicle that was titled in her name and paid for solely by her and hid it from her. In order to be able to get to work, she was forced to buy a second vehicle, thus giving her 2 car payments and insurance costs. JP took her purse, driver's license, and her keys to prevent her from leaving the house. Q, interfering with her work when she worked at the church. JP would randomly fire her for disobeying him, and then he would hire her back if she agreed to certain sexual acts or some other list of demands. He allowed or wrote letters to her on church letterhead, demeaning her and putting her down. That's crazy. On church letterhead. That's really descriptive. She had to leave the job that she really loved, the church, and take a job in the restaurant industry. The above tracks the originally proposed bill, and the below are additional behaviors that may be added to the bill. Number 1, emotional abuse. Everything stated above and below, and even more that cannot be told due to the humiliation of it to the victim, Mica. Prayers, family. Oh my gosh. So many prayers to the family. Like, right there, that tells you right there. Like, if we're sitting here, we're only 3 pages through. We're only 3 pages through. Not even. And we're like, whoa, this is disgusting. This is crazy. Like, we're shocked right now. We're not even done, and we have a warning graphic content up there. And this right here, everything stated above and below, and even more that cannot be told due to the humiliation of it to the victim, Mica. Prayers to the family. Oh my gosh. Man, I can't imagine. Prayers, Francis family. Billions of them. Number 2, ignoring requests and commands to leave. Just give me a moment. All right, let's try this again. Number 2, ignoring requests and commands to leave her alone. She asked him over and over to leave her alone, but he would not. After a police officer warned him to leave her alone, he trespassed her into her gated community to leave her a present or a gift on top of the car. Number 3, oh my gosh, cruelty to her dog. JP threw Mica's belongings out of the house and then demanded that she come get her dog. She could not keep the dog at the apartment she was staying in at the time, and he knew that. When she did not immediately get the dog, he took the dog to her apartment and tied the little dog to the front door handle. He knew that she was not home, and he left the dog there. She had to leave where she was at the time to go home to get the dog. She found a home for the dog, but when JP found out about her giving the dog to someone else, he went there and demanded the person give him the dog back. Destruction of property. JP intimidated her by damaging her property, breaking her things, giving away her things, or throwing them in the trash. He keyed her car, dented the hood with a dumbbell, backed into something, damaging the trunk and slashed the tires and cut up the passenger seat. Page 4 of 5. Destruction of supporting evidence. JP actively sought out her journals and diaries where she kept logs and details of things that he did to her. He found and destroyed many journals and writings belonging to Mica, which she intended to use as evidence to prove his destructive behaviors and abusive tactics. He also erased evidence, photos, videos, and writings that she had kept on her iCloud and cell phone. I apologize. I can't really see your chat when I'm reading these. 6, adultery, promiscuity. JP cheated on her many times. He sent nude pictures of himself to other women. He paid a woman from church $10,000 to destroy a sexually explicit video of himself. He flirted with other women. He sexted and dated other women. He paid for sex, both men and women, people not known as prostos. This is crazy. Number 7, stealing her identity. JP took her cell phone and sent texts to her family and friends pretending to be her. JP sent emails and texts from her accounts to church members and her family pretending to be her, admitting she was doing bad things. His attempt to disgrace her name. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine him when he's sitting there demeaning her at a service? And I bet you the chatter in the congregation was like, yeah, Betty, I saw that. I heard that. Yeah, I got the email from her a couple days ago. That's true. That's right, Betty. I got an email from her 3 days ago. She said it. That's true. 8, cyber technology abuse. JP got access to her technology, changed her passwords, took over her accounts, and hacked her social media, her iCloud, cell phone, and email. He posted on her social media feed and then tore it down and locked her out of the account. He would text her about details of where she was, who she was with, and what she was wearing, or ask questions that only someone who was there would know to ask. Oh, did you have ketchup or mustard with that burger? What? Number 9, misuse of legal documents. JP had an attorney write and send a cease and desist letter to Mica demanding that she stop talking bad about JP and the church or suffer legal ramifications. JP had a lawyer draft a post-nuptial agreement and demanded that she sign it, giving up certain marital rights before he would allow her to return to the marriage. JP used a lawyer to draft a separation agreement with one-sided terms and demanded that she sign it without the benefit of representation. Number 10, misuse of law enforcement. JP called the police on her for no reason. He reported her for a crime that she did not commit, making her subject to a police investigation, which became unfounded and dropped. The officer allegedly told Mica it was abuse of law and a waste of police time. Like we had the conversation with Jay last night, it seems that there's always a call about one certain particular object, and maybe that's to make sure that the call actually goes through. And they're like, just call us back if there's something changes. Number 11, misuse of legal process. JP filed papers twice in probate court to have her involuntarily committed, claiming she was maniac, and asked for a mental health evaluation, claiming she was a danger to herself. The probate judge disagreed. JP convinced her to drop her divorce case against him and then turned around and filed his own case in family court against her. And then he dropped his suit shortly after filing. Page 5. And shout out Abigail Francis for sharing this to everybody on Facebook. And shout out to the Francis family. Prayers again. Number 12, medical abuse. JP declared her bipolar, forced her to take lithium, a prescription of his own, monitored whether she complied with taking the pills, and forcefully gave her steroid testosterone shots in her arms, thighs, and buttocks. JP would make her swallow pills in his presence, and if she thought she did not take them, he would cut them up and put them in her food, his own admission. Oh my gosh. 13, spiritual abuse. JP knew how much she adored and loved Jesus and the teachings in the Bible, and that she wanted to be a good Christian, so he used it against her. When she wanted a divorce, he told her God hates divorce and it is a sin. Why would he do terrible, terrible things to her? Would tell her that God said she cannot judge him as a good Christian. She is to forgive him, and even more so as his wife. "14, church abuse. JP weaponized the church against her and often used the pulpit to give sermons that were really messages to Mica to correct her ways, or were directives to her, or sometimes used to demean her by the name to the congregation. She felt strongly about the tithing to the church, but JP refused to tithe with his own church for about 4 months, but he encouraged the congregation to do so, and this was very upsetting to her. He wrote letters to her on church letterhead for the purpose of harassment. 15, phone calls to everyone. JP found out she went to another church. He called the pastor to explain her issues. JP found out she got back in touch with a female friend. He called her to see what was going on. JP called and texted her family. JP called her work. JP called her roommate, her godmother. JP called members of the congregation. JP called her lawyer after she passed away to tell his side of the story and to ask for Mica's retainer money to be refunded to him. 16, physical abuse without marks. JP finger punched her in the throat. He held her up against the wall by her throat, slapped a drink out of her hand, and while out in public together, he snatched her plate of fruit from her and threw it. Finger punched her in the throat, would hold her up against the wall by her throat. If Mica was your sister, daughter, etc., where would you send her for help? From Abigail Francis on Facebook. My gosh. That's a lot. That's a lot. And like they said, to protect, so it's not humiliating and There's a lot of stuff they couldn't say. Man.